Hi, good evening. Tonight, instead of doing the Capture the Flag on Hacker 101 website, what I wanted to share is how easily it is to hack or gain access into a computer that's not been patched with the latest updates released by the vendors of the operating system or the manufacturer. So what we're gonna do first before we can start trying to gain access to computer is that we have to scan what are the computers available that have open ports, services running that we can try and exploit. Um, so if you're looking at my screen right now, you see my virtual box manager, and I have Linux operating system running as one of my VMs. Linux is our tool that most hackers and penetration testers use to exploit vulnerabilities. Okay, so again, what we're gonna do is first we will check what are the computers or devices available around us or in our network that we can try and gain access to. But first, we have to check which network to scan. So we can do this by checking our own IP address by doing ipconfig. And you can see here this is our IP address 10.0.2.13, and the subnet is 255.255.255.0. So that means that is /24. Okay? And so that means our network is 10.0.2.0 up to 255. So there's a total of 256 IP addresses. Okay? So now let's start the scan. So what we're gonna do is that the most popular tool used in scanning the network is Nmap. But with Nmap, sometimes it's really hard to look at the results because it's terminal based. So we're gonna use the GUI version of Nmap, which is ZenMap. So to start ZenMap, just type ZenMap and then ampersand. What it does is it fires up ZenMap in the background. I mean, it retains the terminal in the background and runs ZenMap. Here you go. So here is ZenMap. Okay. To me, this is easier because it has a GUI, and the result of the scan is easier for me to read instead of going and scrolling up and down using the command line interface. Okay. So what we have to do is just enter the target right here. So like I mentioned, our Kali Linux has an IP address of 10.0.2.13, and we wanted to scan the entire network. So we have to type 10.0.2.0, and let's do /24. Okay. Now that we've entered that, um, there's a drop down here of what kind of scan do we want to do. So we have the intense scan. That means we will have like more results compared to just using a quick scan right here. Okay, so but what? Let's just use intense scanning. Okay, so here the command, it's still using the nmap. Okay, and there are other switches right here, like for example T4. Okay, T is for timing. This is, you want to set it up on how fast the scan is. So after letter T, you can put numbers from 0 to 5. The higher the number, the faster the scan, but that means the less accurate the results are. Okay? So let's just do 4 because that's the default of the intense scan anyway. And this dash A right here, this is to enable the OS detection. It's really important to know what operating system are running on the computers, so we know how to exploit these vulnerabilities. Okay, and then the dash V right here is for the verbosity. If you wanted the results to be verbose, then just put dash V. Okay, and then this is the network 10.0.2.0/24. All right. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna run the scan now, and this might take about 3-4 minutes. So what I'm gonna do as soon as I start the scan, I'm gonna pause the video. Alright, but I'm gonna show you here that the scan has started. And here you go, it actually scanned um, the IP addresses, just like what I mentioned, from 10.0.2.0 all the way to 10.0.2.255. Okay, so now I'm gonna pause the video and come back once it's done scanning. Alright, the scan is done, and it took 289.51 seconds to complete scanning the network. Alright, so here are the hosts that were found. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 IP addresses that were found. So when you click on it, you can see what are the ports that are open right here, and the services as well. Okay, and there are different tabs right here, and for here at least it lists you all of the ports, so it would be easier to look at the ports here. The list of ports, topology, you can see how the network is set up, and host details to see more details. Like for example, for this machine 10.0.2.14, it's saying that the operating system is either Windows Server 2008 or Windows 8.1. Now this is important for us to know what operating system, because it would make it easier for us to find out if there are any available exploits that are already um, available or uploaded in Kali that we can use, Kali Linux. Okay, so here, this is the only operating system that we can find, 10.0.2.14 with Windows 8.1. Now what we're gonna do, now that we found out that okay, sure, there's some Windows 8.1 open, and here are the ports that are open, like for example port 445. This is this port is for SMB, so it's the server message block. So server message block is the protocol used for file sharing, so it allows the application so computers can read or write on files on other computers that are in the same network. So what we're gonna try to do now is check if there are any exploits available that we can use against Windows computer and an SMB service. Okay, so let's minimize this. Minimize. Let's open up our browser. Once our browser is up, we gotta go just Google CVE, stands for Common Vulnerability and Exposure. Common vulnerabilities and exposures. So here we can check what are the known vulnerabilities that we can exploit. This is important because if there are computers that haven't patched the latest updates, we can actually use that to gain access to computers. So for example, let's type Windows 7. If you look at here, there are 1,217 known vulnerabilities and exposure against Windows 7. So if a Windows 7 is out there and hasn't been patched, then that means they're vulnerable and they could be hacked. So what we're gonna do, there is an exploit called CVE 2017-0144 that exploits the server message block version 1 on the Windows operating system. So if you look at here, it affects Windows Vista Server 2008, Windows 7, 8.1, Server 2012, and even Server 2016. So it's really important for your operating system to be updated with the most recent updates released by the vendors or the OS manufacturer. Okay, so the known vulnerability on this one for the SMB is actually used by people who wrote ransomware like WannaCry. They use this, and I think the NSA even came up with the exploit called EternalBlue. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that now that we know that there is an SMB exploit that we can use for Windows 7. So here's our Windows 7 machine. This is our target machine. Let's see if we can actually gain access on this computer, exploiting it using that SMB exploit. So let's open the terminal again. And now what we're gonna do is we will use Metasploit. And to start Metasploit, you just have to type msf console on the terminal and hit enter. And it would start loading the Metasploit framework console. We just have to wait for it to complete, to fully load. Okay, I'm just gonna expand this so it's easier for us to see the commands and as well as the results. Okay, so now we're here, MSF5, from Metasploit. So it says here there are 1,863 available exploits that we can use. Okay, so now we're looking for exploit for a Windows operating system running SMB. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that to look for an available exploit against Windows operating system, we just have to type show exploits and hit enter. What it will do is that it will pull up all of the exploits available, and then we just have to search for an exploit for Windows and against that SMB file sharing protocol. There you go. So these are all the exploits right here. So it says Windows, and then we're looking for SMB exploit. So there are lots of SMB exploits that we can use, but just like what I mentioned at the beginning, we are going to use this ms17 underscore 010 underscore EternalBlue, and I believe this was actually created by the NSA. Okay, for us to use this exploit, okay, what we gotta do is go back down here and type use exploit. So what we can do, you can type, the first 2 or 3 letters and just hit tab on your keyboard and it auto completes it. So exploit, and then Windows tab, SMB tab, ms17 underscore 010 underscore EternalBlue, and then enter. Now we're inside that exploit. What we're gonna do now is that let's see what are our options. What are the information needed so we can run this exploit? So type show options, enter. So right here it says that we are required to enter our host. So that means it's asking for the IP address. Okay? Some of this information right here are not needed. That's why it says no. And then the others have been pre-populated. So what we can do to set up the R host is that we just have to type set R host and then the IP address 10.0.2.2.14 and hit enter. Now if you do show options again, you can see that the IP address is right there. Now that it knows what IP address to attack, now we can run the exploit by typing run and hit enter. We just have to wait. Alright, there it is. So if you see positive plus sign right there. That's good. That means it's been successful. So right here it says command shell session open. So now we have a connection from our Kali machine, which is 10.0.2.13, to the Windows machine, which is 10.0.2.14. Okay, so now we have a connection. Now, as you notice, now this changed. This is the Windows prompt. So if we scroll up, this is for the Metasploit prompt. And if we scroll all the way up, this uh, this is our Linux prompt right here. Okay? So now it's showing us that we're actually inside the 10.0.2.14 computer. We're inside the command prompt. So let's try and minimize this so you can see the Windows machine right here. Okay? Oops. Here's our Windows machine. Okay, just to show you that we have access to this Windows machine, what we're going to do is that we're going to create a file from our Kali Linux and it would appear in our Windows machine. Okay, so let's open this right here, the File Explorer, and go to desktop. So first, we're going to create a folder. So it will appear here and appear up here. Okay, so we gotta change directory. CD, that's the long way of going back. We could have just put CD and then /. Yeah, and then it would have gone straight to the directory of Windows. Okay, so what we can do here now, I want to go to the desktop of Windows. So we can type dir to check what are the directories available. So we can go to users, so cd users and then dir again, and we're gonna use the user admin, cd admin, and then dir. We can go to desktop, cd desktop, dir. Okay, there's nothing on desktop. As you can see here, there's nothing on the desktop. Alright, so what we're gonna do is that we're gonna create a folder. So the folder is, let's say mkdir. That's make directory to create a folder. mkdir. The name of the folder is surprise. Hit enter. There you go. Did you see that? So as soon as I hit enter right here, this surprise folder showed up. Surprise folder showed up right here. And if you look at inside the surprise folder, it's empty. Now what we're gonna do, inside the surprise folder, we can actually put a file in there. So let's do cd surprise to get inside the surprise folder. And then we're gonna do echo your computer is compromised. That's the message, and we're gonna put that inside a file called hack.txt and hit enter. Alright, did you see it show up here? Hack. And if you click this on the Windows, open it, says your computer is compromised. Just to check that it's the same message, let's go back to our Kali terminal and then type hack.txt, and right there, that's the message inside the file hack.txt. So what I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to be an expert to gain access to other people's computer, especially if you're in the same network. All you have to do is know the tools that are available. You have to know how to research for vulnerabilities, and you can try and exploit those. So thank you very much for watching, and see you again next time.